Aliyah Boston has one request for Caitlin Clark after LPGA Pro-Am. Early Wednesday morning, Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark took her talents to the golf course to compete in the ANNIKA driven by Gainbridge, an LPGA Pro-Am competition held at Pelican Golf Club in Belleair, Florida. 4 different teammates joined the former Gawa superstar at the event, including Nelly Korda, the world's #1 women's golfer. In the early portion, and ANNIKA, a World Golf Hall of Famer, whom the event was named, in the latter half. Clark and her team finished with a -11 net par, tied for the 8th best score of the day with 4 other teams. In comparison, the highest score received was a -22, a team that included 2 other professional golfers in Thailand's Thadapa Suwarnapura and Japan's Mao Seigo. On Thursday night, Clark highlighted her latest golfing venture with an Instagram post, using many different photos of herself throughout the event. Aliyah Boston, Clark's all-star teammate for the Fever, left her thoughts on the post in the comment section, making one request to the all-WNBA first-teamer in the process. "What can't you do?" Boston asked. "Can you teach me how to golf? Trying to add it to my resume." Clark added her own response to Boston's question. "Let's make a TikTok about it," Clark replied with a devil emoji, to which Boston added, "I'm ready when you are sister girl." Clark and Boston proved to be one of the better guard/forward duos in the WNBA during the 2024 season. The pair, along with fellow guard Kelsey Mitchell, both made an all-star appearance while helping Indiana make its first postseason since 2016. Boston, the former South Carolina Gamecock star, saw a minor drop in her scoring output from her 2023 rookie season to 2024, averaging 14.0 points on 52.9% shooting. She did, however, record career highs in rebounds, 8.9, and assists, 3.2, per game. With the addition of 2023 Coach of the Year Stephanie White, the Fever has a very promising young core that could be a championship threat for the foreseeable future.
Inside the ropes with Caitlin Clark, the NBA superstar was LPGA box office, even if she did hit a fan. The first golden shards of sunlight had only begun to stretch over Bellevue, Florida, when the hundreds of fans who had risen at the crack of dawn horseshowed around the first tee box at the Pelican Golf Club to secure their front rope spot Wednesday morning. It was an unusual sight for the 7 a.m. tee time of a simple pro-am. Signs had been boldly and brightly decorated. Spectators were stacked decks deep, and the crammed crowd, young and old, male and female, jostled in anticipation. Yet, when the first group finally ascended to the tee box, all eyes were not on world no one Nelly Korda. No, instead, they were on the LPGA's main attraction of the week, a 16 handicapper. Caitlin Clark joked in September that she'd pledge her WNBA off-season to becoming a professional golfer. At the ANNIKA Pro-Am, she may as well have already been one. Korda, a 2-time major winner and Olympic gold medalist, may be used to attracting spectators in their droves to the fairways, but Wednesday was unquestionably the Caitlin Clark show. To cries of "from the logo" and "let's go 22," the basketball superstar, dressed head to toe in Nike with baby pink shoes and statement gold swooshes, teed off with a club twirl flourish and assured strut off the tee box. It was the confident Clark the WNBA has become well acquainted with over the course of the past season. Only this time, the course had replaced the court as her stage. Playing the first 9 holes with Korda and later 10-time major winning legend ANNIKA following the turn, the 22-year-old was the blockbuster headliner in the Shamble competition. The day before she took to the fairways, Clark told the media that her claims of targeting a tour card were all in jest, before revealing her goal for the tournament: hit the ball, not the fans. That goal lasted a total of 2 holes. Clark accidentally shanked her tee shot at the 3rd straight into the fans watching onto the left, miraculously avoiding hitting a spectator by inches. The crowd brushed off the errant blunder with a wry chuckle as Clark reloaded and fired off her second attempt at the par 3. Littered with misses to the right and the occasional below-par duffs, but highlighted with crisp approach shots and impressive short game, Clark's round could be described as turbulent at best. But it was a round that every amateur golfer, and even some professionals, could relate to. Golf isn't her first love. It is a hobby she might play once a week with friends, usually for little more than bragging rights. Her enthusiasm for the game was infectious. With cheeky digs at her own performance and passionate fist pumps and heel clicks to celebrate shots, Clark lit up the masses. Her scenic route around the Pelican Golf Club, especially under the influence of understandable nerves, could easily be forgiven. Not that it would have mattered if she had walked off 18 the next coming of Tiger Woods himself or a hacking Happy Gilmore. The spectators wouldn't have cared either way. The crowd, the majority of whom appeared to have never watched a shot of golf in their lives, was left in awe of any simple shot Clark executed. Even the close calls with catastrophe went over well. Kaylin and Aisling Nenyu stood at the side of the third tee when Clark's wayward drive came barreling towards them. To most people, a golf ball hurtling towards them at high speed would be terrifying. To them, it was exciting. They had traveled from Chicago just to watch Clark play the Pro-Am and, being lifelong Bulls fans, likened the former Iowa Hawkeye to the great Michael Jordan himself. Clark herself managed to take the incident in good humor, later joking that she hadn't hit anyone yet being the key word. 6 holes later, her self-inflicted prophecy was fulfilled when another wayward tee shot did appear to find a poor, unsuspecting fan. Not that they seemed too upset, the pain worth the reward of a signed souvenir from Clark, littered with misses to the right and the occasional below-par duffs, but highlighted with crisp approach shots and impressive short game. Clark's round could be described as turbulent at best. But it was a round that every amateur golfer, and even some professionals, could relate to. Golf isn't her first love. It is a hobby she might play once a week with friends, usually for little more than bragging rights. Her enthusiasm for the game was infectious. With cheeky digs at her own performance and passionate fist pumps and heel clicks to celebrate shots, Clark lit up the masses. Her scenic route around the Pelican Golf Club, especially under the influence of understandable nerves, could easily be forgiven. Not that it would have mattered if she had walked off 18 the next coming of Tiger Woods himself or a hacking Happy Gilmore. The spectators wouldn't have cared either way. The crowd, the majority of whom appeared to have never watched a shot of golf in their lives, was left in awe of any simple shot Clark executed. Even the close calls with catastrophe went over well. Kaylin and Aisling Nenyu stood at the side of the third tee when Clark's wayward drive came barreling towards them. To most people, a golf ball hurtling towards them at high speed would be terrifying. To them, it was exciting. They had traveled from Chicago just to watch Clark play the Pro-Am and, being lifelong Bulls fans, likened the former Iowa Hawkeye to the great Michael Jordan himself. The chance of getting a basketball from her is impossible, they told dailymail.com, so we thought we'd try and get her golf ball instead. The sisters were among the foragers who rushed to scavenge in a nearby bougainvillea bush to snatch the dimpled treasure of Clark's stray ball. Thorns be damned. By this point, their desperation was no surprise. Clark may have been playing with icons of the game, Korda and Sorenstam, but with one sweeping glance across the fairways, it was clear who the thousands had gathered for. Golf is a sport known for its strict dress codes. On Wednesday, though, there was only one uniform: fever jerseys, head to toe Aliyah yellow and black, handmade t-shirts professing their love. They had come from far and wide, sacrificing days of work for a glimpse of Clark. One fan, Stan, told dailymail.com that he had driven 8 hours from Georgia for the celebrity tournament, while another, a recent graduate from Clark's alma mater Noah, took a flight down from Chicago. Several young girls were dotted throughout the crowd, holding posters that read, "Go Hawks," and "Thank you, Caitlin." "Okay, girls, ready for school now?" One mother could be heard asking her 2 daughters at 7:25 a.m. as the first group wrapped up on the second green and the clock struck midnight on their Caitlin Clark fairy tale. Others weren't so conscientious, believing witnessing Clark in person was a life experience worth more than anything they could learn in school. LPGA USGA Girls Golf brought 15 students, mainly from the Miami area, admitting they had skipped school to see Korda and Clark together. But in their defense, there's no better due. Skiving certainly paid off for 9-year-old Hadley Johnson, who attended the Pro-Am with her dad Delmar, friend Isla Marino, 10, and her mother Jacqueline Marino. Amid the chaos of Clark's escape from the mob of hysterical fans at the 18th green, She flung a signed glove over the crowd into Hadley's waiting hands. It was a prize that her dad insisted the starstruck youngster would have framed and treasure forever. Even the pros got in on the action as groups behind called over to the fans flocking Clark and her playing partners to ask how she was faring. Maria Fassi dashed onto the 18th fairway as Clark approached the green in a fangirl moment, while other pros were spotted behind the ropes for once, watching on with their caddies or asking for selfies from the edge of the green. Retiring Brittany Lincecum used her farewell press conference to shine the spotlight on Clark when the Seminole native gushed about the WNBA star's impact before asking Clark to sign a basketball for her daughters. It was impossible to keep a twinge of sympathy at bay for Clark's playing partners, Gainbridge CEO Dan Towers and his friend Jason Rickard, who plotted their way around the course against the background of mayhem. While 22 may be used to the bright lights, they aren't. Yet even they appear to be in on the act. On the back of Rickard's white shirt were 4 numbers circled, which represented his 4 favorite Iowa Hawkeye athletes of all time. No, 24, football player Niall Kinnick. No, 16 quarterback Chuck Long. No, 23 Roy Marble. That was all-time leading scorer in men's basketball. And of course, no, 22 Clark. You should thank me. Caitlin's going to come over here now, he told fans after the group opted to take his tee shot on the 6th, which had landed close to the ropes. This wasn't your average Wednesday on the LPGA Tour. This was a round of golf that had the power to inspire a new generation of women's golf fans. Clark isn't a golfer, but she is no longer just a basketball player either. She is an icon whose presence even off the court can lift all of women's sport. Ticket sales rocketed tenfold thanks to her participation, and the Golf Channel even extended its coverage of a mere pro-am, bending to the demand for Clark. To see the influence that she has on people, bringing people out here, and to see how amazing of an influence she is just for sports, was really cool to see firsthand today, Korda said. And there was no greater testament to Clark's power of attraction than the circus at the 18th green. Hordes of fans heaved against the ropes, shoved the overwhelmed security, and clamored at Clark in hysterical scenes as she made her way down the line to sign autographs. When she attempted to flee the chaos, the brave few dodged and weaved past her guards to burst onto the green and flock after her escaping cart. It was the height of Beatlemania. It was a Taylor Swift level of frenzy. It was, quite honestly, suffocating. So much for the mild-mannered golf fan. That may be normal for Caitlin Clark, but for women's golf, it's extraordinary. Nothing we would really see on a normal Wednesday, Sorenstam said. It's just great how it brings attention to the tournament. Her on-course performance may not have been a replica of the flashes of magic Clark produces on the court, but for the LPGA, Clark was box office. WAT siege. WNBA sensation Caitlin Clark shanks tee shot into pro-am crowd. Caitlin Clark is no stranger to performing in front of big audiences. The #1 pick in the 2024 WNBA draft has built a reputation for her ice-cold composure out on court. Huge crowds have followed the Indiana Fever star around the WNBA with an equally sizable interest in her entry to the ANNIKA Pro-Am Golf Tournament in Florida. With stars such as USA golfer Nelly Korda, as well as many other LPGA players in attendance, the crowd were treated to a great standard of golf in Belleair. Waiting golf fans lined the fairways for courtside spots to see Clark take her tee shot. But it's safe to say the onlooking patrons would have been considerably safer on the basketball sidelines. When draining outrageous three-point shots, Clark seldom misses the mark. Despite her wayward shank into the tight-packed crowd, the basketball player saw the funny side of her errant tee shot. Showing her humor, she laughed it off and pulled another ball out of her pocket to tee it up again. The buzz around Clark's appearance at the golf club was palpable, with waves of fans chasing autographs as she warmed up along the course. Following the disastrous stroke, she jokingly said sorry before showing her character, adding, "Thanks for the kick, whoever I hit." After flagging down the fan who had been struck by the shot, she signed the ball in a light-hearted exchange. Clark has been raking in huge endorsements that have never been seen before in women's basketball. Major winner Korda sang her praises, stating, "It was great to see how relaxed she was." When speaking to ABC, she added, With all the media attention she's received in the last 2 years, you can see she's comfortable playing in front of larger crowds. Caitlin Clark leaves WNBA legend in little doubt with telling 7-word statement. WNBA legend Sue Bird has summed up Caitlin Clark's incredible impact on the WNBA, which has seen a huge rise in popularity and media interest in 2024. Caitlin Clark is the single biggest factor behind the WNBA's recent boom, according to Sue Bird. The league was heading the right direction prior to Clark being the #1 pick in April's draft, with viewing figures for 2023 up on the previous year. But Bird says Indiana Fever sensation has put the foot to floor in terms of the WNBA's development, which has seen interest spike to never-seen-before levels. Appearing on the Deal podcast, Bird summed up the 22-year-old's impact in a 7-word statement. She poured gasoline all over that thing. All of a sudden, this player named Caitlin Clark comes, said Bird, 44, who spent her entire career with the Seattle Storm and is now a part owner of the organization. And the way I frame it is, fire was going, it was burning, and it was burning brighter. Even if you look at the 2023 viewership in the WNBA Finals, it was way higher than 2022. It was starting, the fire was there, but Caitlin came, and she poured gasoline all over that thing and just took it to another level. Bird's assessment is backed up by numbers with the WNBA enjoying its most successful year in terms of viewership and ticket sales. The league attracted an all-time record of more than 54 million unique viewers across its broadcast networks, which include ABC, CBS, and ESPN. A record 22 regular season games averaged at least 1 million viewers, while the season as a whole saw 136.29 million hours of coverage consumed across all national networks. Clark has truly transcended her sport, and this week she has been taking part in the ANNIKA Pro-Am event, playing with Annika Sorenstam and LPGA Tour Player of the Year Nelly Korda. Despite one tee-shot hack which narrowly avoided striking a patron, Clark is a handy player, although the court, rather than the course, was always her true calling. Speaking ahead of the ANNIKA, she said, "When I got into high school, I knew basketball was my future. I loved it, and I wanted to practice it. I think that was different. I wanted to get better. I wanted to spend time working on my game. That was probably what set that apart from all the other sports I played. The other sports were just fun with my friends. I was really competitive, but I didn't take extra time out of my day to work on my game and be better than everybody else. I think that's what helped me figure out the path I wanted to take."